Hello and welcome back to a Methods of the Madness Breaking Bad edition. I'm your host Patrick, and joining me is Mitchie.
Hello.
And this episode is Season 1, Episode 1 of Breaking Bad, Pilot. The way we're going to do this is we're just going to read out a plot summary, and as we go along, we're going to comment and discuss it. Each week, me and Mitchie are going to take turns hosting, by the way, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, Mitchie, can you take us through the plot summary?
Yeah, so Walter White is a high school chemistry teacher living in Albuquerque, New Mexico with his pregnant wife Skylar and their teenage son, Walter Jr., who has cerebral palsy. Walt supplements his low teaching salary by working part-time at a local car wash where he ends up being humiliated in front of two of the students he teaches. On his 50th birthday, Walt returns home to a surprise party arranged by Skylar. The following day, he collapses at the car wash and is raced to the hospital where he's told that he has developed inoperable lung cancer and has, at best, 2 years to live. Walt opts to keep this news from his family and from Skylar's sister Marie Schrader and her husband Hank, a DEA agent.
Yeah, so we always talk about how the reason why we love this series so much is because like when we revisit it, we find something new. I found it interesting this time that Walt was already really dissatisfied with his life even before he got diagnosed. He's like, he wakes up, you know, he can't get to sleep. He's just awake in the middle of the night, sort of like looking at his roof, like looking over at Skylar, just of his life of domesticity.
It does such a good job of like making you feel sorry for this man.
Yeah.
Like those first 20 minutes is purely dedicated to that, and it fucking nails it.
It does.
Like everything about his life is fucked.
Yeah, like not fucked. It's just like kind of like depressing. It's just tedium.
Like straight away you realize that he's a Nobel Prize winner, or at least a contributor to a Nobel Prize. That's fucking huge. Like in the science world, that is the most prestigious prize anyone can get in the whole world. And he contributed to that, and here he is teaching at a high school. Like straight away you know that he is lacking something there. Like he could have done so much more, is basically the gist.
Yeah, and he obviously hangs on to that because it's like the only plaque he has on his wall, and he stares at it when he's on that weird treadmill thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and the sad thing is no one gets it either. They just call him big brain the size of Wisconsin, you know. But
right.
Like, yeah.
And you know, with the context of the series as a whole, you know the context behind that plaque is that he got fucked over, but also it was his own fault that he never really amounted to anything.
Yeah, true. It does once you get into it.
Yeah, so just a bunch of regrets.
Yeah.
And I love how straight away when he's teaching chemistry at school, it establishes this the big universal themes of change right off the bat. When he gives the demonstration of like the chemicals reacting with the Bunsen burner. And yeah, like as he's explaining that, it seems as if the parallels of what he's about to go on, the journey he's about to go on, is like sort of, he recognizes that. He's like kind of enamored by his own explanation, you know. And then that rude ass kid just like completely kills his passion for whatever it is he's talking about. Just feel sorry for the dude.
I'll move on. After returning to work at the car wash, Walt suddenly lashes at his boss and walks off the job. Fucking Bogdan, the eyebrow man. Having earlier seen a news report showing a large amount of money recovered from one of Hank's drug busts, Walt takes up a previous offer to go on a ride-along as Hank and his partner Stephen Gomez raid a known meth lab. As the DA agents clear out the house, Walt observes his former student Jesse Pinkman sneaking out a back window. Later, Walt tracks down Jesse's address and blackmails him into helping him produce crystal meth without revealing why. Walt turns over his life savings to allow Jesse to purchase a Fleetwood Bounder RV to use as a mobile meth lab. Walt then steals supplies from the high school chemistry lab needed for the process. Now, the introduction of Jesse Pinkman is so good. It's really comedic, and that's kind of one of the key elements of Breaking Bad, is that it's so good and so serious, but it's also really fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like, there's not many other shows where I laugh as much as this one. And the introduction of Jesse Pinkman was just awesome.
Yeah, to your point of like comedy, Walter White as a badass like kind of, you know, mobster it's funny all the way throughout the series because he's such like a kind of lame dad, and just like the way he moves, it's just like very dad-esque. Also, I just to go back to like the previous paragraph. Do you remember when he passed out at the car wash? He saw that woman in the green dress.
Yeah. Life. That's what I looked at it as a representation of.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because he's wearing green at the end of this episode, and technically at the start. and that when he wears green, because for the rest of it during the shit part, the previous paragraph we just read out, he's wearing real like drab colors, and he wears green at the end, which represents like vitality, that he's kind of breaking out of that shit mold of depressive teaching.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of interesting that he sees a girl and then faints.
I didn't read it as this. I saw some people talking about how it was like money. It's green isn't money.
Yeah.
Some other people thought that was Gretchen. Yeah. Obviously that's also symbolic of like, you know, the shortcomings of his life.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't have anything else to say. Oh yeah. When that shot of Jesse asking Walter like, what, you know, why have you done this? You don't just suddenly break bad, and then it's the shot of Walter against the mountains in the background. And he's like, I am awake. That's such an iconic shot. Like I've seen that a lot, but it still gets me. Like even when I watch that in context, I really love it.
Yeah, but it's like a joke though. Like it's you know, I didn't take it seriously. Like I took it the way Jesse reacted to it. Like what the fuck are you on about? You fucking weirdo. Like it's not even a fucking valid explanation.
There certainly is that like angle to it, but I see it as that as well, but also like kind of in a profound way. There's a mix of emotions with that.
Yeah. Cool. I'll move on. Mm-hmm. Walt and Jesse drive the RV into the desert and begin to cook. Walt's expertise in chemistry enables them to create crystal meth that Jesse claims is the purest he's ever seen. Jesse drives back into town to show a sample to his distributor, Crazy 8. He realizes too late that Crazy 8's cousin, Emilia Koyama, his partner that was busted on an earlier raid, is now free on bail and believes Jesse set him up to get busted, but Jesse promises to prove his loyalty by driving them to the RV. When they meet Walt, Emilia recognizes him from the raid and thinks that he is an informant, leading him and Crazy 8 to hold the two at gunpoint. Jesse tries to run but trips and falls and hits his head on a rock, knocking himself out. Walt barters for his life by offering to show them how he produced the meth. As they watch Walt inside the RV, Emilia flicks away a cigarette outside, which causes a brush fire to ignite. The two gangsters hold Walt at gunpoint and force him to cook meth, but Walt instead synthesizes phosphine gas with red phosphorus, which causes Emilia and Crazy 8 to pass out after they inhale it.
The show really distinguishes itself from the sort of bombastic, explosive nature of traditional films like this. Like, so like that scene where they're about to kill Walter and Jesse, and then Jesse's like, "Run, Mr. White," and Walt just kind of like flounders. He's deliberating whether to run left or right, and then he just like, and then at some point he just realizes that he's fucked and he can't, and then because he's got a gun in his face, like that seems like a very real thing in contrast to like, you know, something like Scarface or like a traditional gangster story, you know.
Well, yeah, no, perfect. Like these people just feel so realistic, and in particular Walt and Jesse, the way that they react, he's so innocent, you know, like he doesn't know anything about crime, that kind of thing, and he reacts the way that any normal man would. Yeah. And the next episode even more so about that kind of thing. Yeah.
So killing Crazy 8 and Emilia with mustard gas, is it?
Nah, phosphine.
Phosphine. Is it different?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is technically Walt's first murder. It happens in the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's amazing how much shit they cover in this episode. He goes from not making meth at all to making meth, and then also from not killing at all to killing. Yeah. It's just, and they still this whole episode still manages to be like a little cosm in itself. It's so coherent, and it just establishes so much for the rest of the series. It just does so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's also really entertaining as well.
Yeah.
Like it gives, it's basically like foreshadowing of everything that's to come across all 5 seasons. Just this kind of shit is exactly what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
You know, like if you like that first episode, you're going to like the rest of it. And important part of this part of the episode, we get our first, what's like sort of a signature kind of move of Breaking Bad in terms of cinematography, is the fucking montage scenes when they're cooking in the RV.
So
which happens exactly at 42 minutes, funnily enough. 4:20.
Oh, right. Okay.
But these things, like in terms of like how well the TV show is actually produced, those montage scenes are just fucking fantastic, and they're just such a thing that you can look for techniques in film creation and stuff like that. And that's the first time we get it, and I fucking love it.
They're one of the best parts of the show.
Yeah, 100%. And we get that time and time again, and that's the first time we get it.
There's that. The best one is somewhere later on in like season 2. I think it's this really beautifully done montage. Anyway, we'll get there.
Yeah, the one out in the desert, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Hearing sirens in the distance, Walt quickly dons a gas mask and puts one on Jesse before pulling him into the RV's passenger seat, still filled with phosphine fumes. Walt frantically drives the RV away from the spreading bushfire. As shown at the start of the episode, Walt drives the RV into a ditch and stumbles out of the vehicle, discarding his gas mask. Believing that he's about to be captured by the police, Walt records a video message to his family before trying to shoot himself with a pistol, unaware the safety is still on. As the sirens near, Walt is relieved to find they are only fire engines responding to the fire and quickly hides his weapon. Jesse wakes up and joins Walt as they watch the fire engines race by. Later that night, Walt returns home and meets his wife's troubled queries with a new sexual vigor, which leaves her asking, "Walt, is that you?"
End of episode.
Yeah.
You know the story behind that, right? That he had a paint can in his pants.
Really?
Yeah, when
like
they were filming that
deliberately
scene.
did that.
So yeah, so to surprise the Anna Gunn, the actress.
Right, yeah, okay.
So that
yeah,
reaction is kind of genuine, yeah.
Apparently Bryan Cranston is like just a mint guy to work with. Like apparently he's hilarious. Apparently he was because he was in his underwear in this episode, he was in his underwear pretty much all the time. He just, when he was off set, he just wanted to be in his underwear, so he'd just take his trousers off and would be in his underwear and just a bathrobe.
Fucking mad lad.
Yeah. And also the RV, they purchased that from some old couple, right? And they'd been driving it across the US for like 30 years or something ridiculous like that. Like that RV has real life history, and then they fucking crash it.
That's very good, because it looks run down. Like it looks like it's been used.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the full circle nature of the ending. How that cold open where you're like, what the fuck is going on when you see it for the
and
first
that's
time.
something we didn't actually read out, is that this episode starts off with that, which is what makes it even better. Like straight in the action, the usual, and and when you see that start scene, you're like a guy in underwear in a gas mask driving a fucking thing, and there's bodies in the back, and presumably you think Jesse's dead too, which is what I thought when I first watched Breaking Bad. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's just so weird.
Yeah,
like,
he's got no pants on, and like,
yeah.
He tries to kill himself, dude. Like, that's fuck me. Imagine, like he had the safety on, but like that's another pretty big thing. Like he was ready to end it all just then.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's a big thing about like decision and fate and free will in this show. It's that like a lot of things come down to these little choices or just acts of fate that happen by chance, and that's one of them.
Exactly. And yeah, like just that ending of the sirens turning out to be fire engines, just a really clever moment. Really funny. Yeah, it sort of sets like a tone for the rest of the show. And so I like how this episode omits certain details or certain events to make it more cohesive. So it doesn't show how he got home, which is revealed in the next episode, but rather it just cuts to him coming home and making love to his wife, which is such a good conclusion to what we've seen in this episode. Like a man who comes home with this renewed vigor and vitality and the renewed like zest for life, pretty much.
And what I find interesting though is that because the episode starts with this scene in the desert and you hear the sirens come, it seems natural to me to end the episode precisely when the fire engines come, and they don't do that. They have him go home first, and then he has sex with Skylar. And I think it's kind of like, for me, I was really expecting that to occur, and then it didn't. And I was like, whoa, this is a little bit weird. Like, it just felt a little bit off, but then the ending was even better by doing that.
Yeah. Good music choice, too.
Yeah.
That's the mark of, like, good TV, I've noticed, compared to mediocre one, is that mediocre TV ends on a cliffhanger, whereas good TV tries to make a coherence within the episode. And, every episode it wraps up in some sort of fashion.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, should we wrap it up?
Yeah. I don't have anything to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next episode.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.
I am awake. What?
If you like this series, Mitch is going to tell you where you can find more of these.
Yep, so you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And we've also got a website, amttm.com, where you can find our fabulous episodes on Breaking Bad.
If you have any questions, queries, insights, or criticism, you can send them to mail@amttm.com.
And as always, thank you for listening.